Hey, Falava. This is TE2 Edge Sports Cards, and my name is Leotawa Dr. John Peterson. And thank you for checking in on the YouTube channel. Really great to see everybody checking out the channel. And we hit 70 subscribers, which I'm super excited about. That's awesome. So much love and much respect to everyone who's been subscribing, liking the channel. Viewership has been up in the last couple weeks, and so that's super exciting. I'm super jazzed about that. And please leave me a comment. Just so much appreciate even the questions and the questioning of some of the decision making that I've done regarding cracking slabs and resubmitting and trying to cross over and all that sort of thing. Man, I love it. It's great. It keeps the dialogue going. So definitely leave a comment. If you have questions, ask questions. I'm happy to do my best to answer them. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. And if I've got a question that I ask in the video and you feel like you got an answer to it, leave an answer. I'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to make this a pretty quick video tonight. I wanted to tell a quick story about this submission to CSG. I sent this out back in June. It was received on 6/30/22 over here. And it was shipped on 7/20/22. So we're looking at, door to door about a month. Yeah, about a month. Actually, probably 20, 30 days. Yeah, I'd say about a month because it takes time for it to ship out and get received, and then it takes time for it to ship out and then be received on my end. So we're looking at about a month for crossing over. I had 3 cards that I crossed over: 56 Topps Clemente, 96 Metal Universe Jeter, Platinum Edition, and then a 54 Topps Eddie Matthews. So let's start at the top, the Clemente. So this card I purchased off of My Slabs back in like March or April. I paid $21.50 for it, almost right on the nose. Excuse me. Bought it. I think it was from a guy down at a shop in Georgia or somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. Somewhere down there in the South. I already had at the time a copy of this card that was originally in a BVG slab and was a 6. But I saw this card and I just couldn't resist. I thought the price point was good. I really liked the fact that the card was pretty clean on the corners, clean on the edges. But the thing that I liked the most about the card is that it was so centered. And that's what really drew me to this card. So I ended up paying $21.50 for this. It was in a BVG slab, and it had been graded a 7.5. Now, I don't know what you've heard. Maybe you've heard differently, but folks that I've talked to that have been in the hobby for a long time, especially in the grading space, conventional wisdom is that BVG slabs are, overgraded. The cards are overgraded. For sure, BCCG. I mean, those are treated like raw cards when you submit those to graders. But BVG, conventional wisdom is you're looking at a half and probably at least a full grade lower than what the grade is in a BVG slab. And so I picked this up, took a bit of a risk. Like I said, I already had one in a BVG 6, and I really like this card. It's one of my all-time favorite cards. It's a top 5 card for me. I like it even better than the Clemente rookie card. For some reason, I just really like this card, and I can't really explain it. I mean, I could have 10 copies of it, and it wouldn't be too many for me. It's my favorite Clemente card by far. So what I ended up doing is I sent this to PSA to see if I could get a higher grade on it, and they didn't cross it over at a higher grade. So I couldn't get an 8.5. I couldn't get an 8 on it from PSA, which is really what I was fishing for, because I knew I wasn't going to get a half grade. So I knew it was going to be a 7 from PSA or lower, probably a 7, maybe a 6 even, maybe a 6 with the way PSA is grading lately so strictly. So I ended up sending it to CSG, and this is what it came back as. It was a 7.5. So the grade stayed the same. Now, in my estimation, there's no comparison between a BVG slab and a CSG slab. A CSG slab is superior, both in terms of quality of the acrylic, but also quality of the resale value and the look. Now, some may disagree with the resale value, but again, I'm going to say it for the 15th time. CSG is a long-term play. All right? The guy that owns Fanatics sits on the Blackstone board. Blackstone is involved in Fanatics. Fanatics' primary relationship is with CGC and CCG, Certified Collectors Group, more specifically the parent group, CCG. CSG is a part of the CCG family of grading companies. CGC is the one that grades comics. CSG is the one that grades cards. In about 2 to 3 years, Fanatics is going to own the rights to printing all of the cards for MLB, NBA, and NFL. I'm going to say that again. In 3 years or less, Fanatics is going to own the rights to print all of the cards associated with MLB, NBA, and NFL. Panini is either going to get bought out or it's going to be kicked out. All right, so CSG slabs are going to increase in terms of their value because of their direct relationship with Fanatics and Blackstone. All right, if you don't know this, you need to do your research and you need to read and find out what's going on with CSG. Because I got a lot of people making comments and saying stuff that have no knowledge of the relationship between CSG, Fanatics, and Blackstone. Blackstone stock, by the way, is kind of dipping a little bit. Great time to buy. So with that said, I'm into CSG, but I'm not into CSG for everything. Let me provide my explanation and rationale. I like the 55s, the 54s, and the 56s that I have in CSG slabs. Okay, the bigger cards, to me, look better in the CSG slab. The bigger cards, to me, look better in an SGC slab than they do in a PSA slab. But overall, I prefer to put the bigger cards in the CSG slab. Okay, that's just my personal preference. I'm not talking about liquidity. I'm not talking about resale value. I'm not talking about any of that. I just like the look of this card in a CSG slab better than in a PSA slab. So take that for what it's worth. You can agree with me or you can disagree with me. Secondly, CSG's grading scale has improved. It's not nearly as ridiculously strict and tough as it was even 6 months ago. So you're getting more consistency that is representative of what the market bears. This to me is a 7.5. It is a 7. It's not an 8. I've seen a 56 and an 8. I've got a Gene Conley that's a 56 that's in an 8. This is not in as nice a shape as that card. But it's not a 7 either. Because I've seen 7s and this is better than a 7. So the 7.5 grade to me is a spot on grade. It's a valid grade. Okay, so I think CSG does the best job of providing consistency, i.e. reliability, and accuracy, i.e. validity. Some people say SGC, but frankly, this card graded by SGC would be a 6. This is not a 6. It's not a 6. I've seen SGC 6s and 56 tops, and this card would be a 6, which is too tough of a grade. This is not a 6. It's a 7.5. So with that said, Take it for what it's worth. You can agree, you can disagree, put a comment in there, tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, but this I know for sure. CSG slabs are coming up. And in the next 3 years, the value of these slabs are only going to increase, if nothing more than the relationship between CSG, Fanatics, and Blackstone. All right. I'm not saying they're going to take over PSA. I'm not saying that I'm not going to use PSA. Of course I'm going to use PSA. I'm using PSA for my 57s, my 58s, and my 59s. I'm using CSG for my 60s, 1960 cards, because I like the CSG slab for a horizontal design better. Same for 55, same for 56, and 54, it's just the size of the card. I like a bigger slab, a more hefty slab, a more solid slab for a bigger card and for a horizontally organized card. So with that said, a 7.5 in this is a higher value card than a 7.5 in a BVG slab. Okay, does it have the same liquidity as a 7 or an 8 in a PSA slab? No, but I'd rather have a 7.5 CSG than a 7 PSA of this card, because this card's not a 7, it's a 7.5. So with that said, I think this card is a $3,500 card at a 7.5. If you take an 8 and you take a 7, you add them up and divide them by 2, you get around $3,500 to $4,000 for this card. So when I price this card out, I'm going to price it for about $4,000, and I'll take anything from about $3,250 up to $4,000 for it. And I'll make $1,000 on this card if I do end up selling it, because I still have another card. Now, the other Clemente was in a BVG slab and was a 6. All right, I submitted that to CSG. That came back as a 6.5. So the grade actually improved rather than got worse. Because again, conventional wisdom is that BVG slabs are overgraded by a half grade or a full grade. Well, in the case of that other Clemente, the 56 tops, not true. I also have a 56 Willie Mays that was a 7 in the BVG slab that came back as a 7.5 in the old CSG slab. Now what I've done, and I'll explain this, hopefully it's clear to people, the original Clemente that was a 6.5 in the old CSG slab, and the Mays, which was a 7.5 in the old CSG slab, the green labeled slabs, those were graded based on the old CSG grading scale. But as I've explained in other videos, the scale has changed. When CSG went to the new flip and the new design of the slab, specifically the flip, they also changed from a 9.5 gem mint to a 10 as a gem mint, right? And then they went from 10 to actually they have perfect. So prior they had perfect, pristine, 10. Then they had a gem mint 9.5, and then a 9, 8.5, 8, and so on and so forth down. Now they have gotten rid of pristine. They've got perfect. They've got gem mint 10. They've got 9.5, 9, 8.5, 8, 7.57, and so forth. But here's what's happened. If you have cards that were graded in the old slabs, there's arbitrage opportunities with those cards to crack them and resubmit them to be graded. Because the way the grading scale was set up for the new scale, your people are actually getting a half grade to a full grade higher on the same card by arbitraging it and cracking it and submitting it, resubmitting it. So when I didn't get a 7 on the Clemente with PSA and an 8 on the Mays for PSA, which is what I told them I wanted. I don't want a 7 in that Mays and a 6 in that Clemente, because they're already graded by CSG as a 7.5 and a 6.5 in the old slabs. I know this is kind of confusing and kind of convoluted and hard to follow, but what I'm saying, but it makes sense to me. Why would I take a Maze 56 tops as a 7 in a PSA slab when I can get it in a CSG slab for 7.5? It's a higher grade. It's a higher grade. And I don't care if PSA is more liquid than CSG right now. In 3 years, CSG is going to be as or more liquid than PSA because of the Fanatics, Blackstone, CSG, CCG connection. So I'm kind of exasperated by trying to explain this to people, but you have to follow what's going on. And I've been following CSG very closely for the last 6 months. And PSA too, less SGC and certainly not HGA. So when PSA said that they would not take that 7.5 CSG Maze and make it an 8, and they would not take the 6.5 Clemente and make it a 7, I decided, and yeah, I did spend $200 to get those evaluated and not graded. Yeah, and you can call it a waste of money if you want to. Go for it. But what I'm saying is that once I found that information out, I cracked those 2 slabs and resubmitted those back to CSG. Because the conventional wisdom is going to tell you and told me that they're going to grade either at or above the grades that they got, because the grading scale has changed with CSG. So there's a chance that that Maze could come back as an 8, and there's a chance that that Clemente could come back as a 7. The original grades on those cards were BVG 7 for the Maze and BVG 6 for the Clemente. So if I go from a 6 to a 7 on the Clemente in a CSG slab, and go from a 7 to an 8 from a BVG slab to a CSG slab in the Maze, why wouldn't I try that? Why wouldn't I try and make that happen? Now, if the Maze comes back in a 7.5 just like it did before, great. Then it's in the new holder and I'm good. If the Clemente comes back as a 6.5, same grade that it got in the old holder, great. Now it's in the new holder, consistent with all the other 56s I've got. So, a long, long story and a long explanation, but you have to think about it in these terms, right? And if you're into a long-term play with CSG, you got to think about the arbitrage opportunities that are out there. And you got to play these companies off of each other. Now, for those of you that are just into PSA, power to you. I ain't got nothing against you. Nothing at all. It's totally fine by me. Like I said, I use PSA for stuff that I want to move quickly, and I have PSA for stuff that I don't want to PC, and I have PSA for stuff that I do want to PC, 57, 58, 59. And I'm going to show you some of those cards when I get them back from PSA. I've got a 59 Mantle, I've got a 59 Gibson, I've got a bunch of 59s. So with all that said, this is a 7.5. I think this card looks absolutely fantastic. It is way better in this slab than it is in a PSA slab, in my personal humble opinion, partly because the colors match so well. Look at the black and the gold. I think it looks phenomenal. All right, so I've droned on enough about that, but I just wanted to make that clear. Hopefully people followed it, and hopefully people listened and understood what I said. So this card I originally sent to PSA. It came back as a 9. I was hoping that it was going to be a 9.5 or a 10. Came back from CSG as a 9. Fine. I spent a little bit of money, $50 to get this graded. So I'm down $50 on this card, plus the $15 for the grading fee. Not too worried about it. And then the last card. This is another great example. So I bought this card off of a PWCC auction for like $120. It was not much. And I can cross-reference that and look at that to see exactly what I paid for it. This was in an SGC slab and had been graded a 6. Now, I've looked at a lot of 1954 Topps cards, and I know how hard it is to find these cards that are centered, especially the non-white border, right? The cards that have color next to the white border. This is not a 6. No, I'm sorry, SGC. You're undergrading the cards. You're grading the cards too harshly. This is a 7. And I know that because I have other 54s that are 7s. I also have a 54 Warren Spahn that's an 8. And then I have some 6s and 5.5s and everything in between. So the grade went up an entire grade when I crossed it over from SGC to CSG. What would you rather have? An Eddie Matthews 1954 Topps number 30 card in an SGC slab at a 6? Or would you rather have it in a CSG slab as a 7, which is the actual correct grade? Yeah, if you wanted an SGC slab as a 6, have at it. Me, I'm going to take the higher grade. Definitely going to take the higher grade. And to me, based on all the 54s I put my eyes and hands on, this is a legitimate 7. So that's my virtual reveal for today. And I hope people enjoyed it. Check out the channel. Check out the rest of the videos. And I hope you have a blessed night. Peace out. One love.